Hey folks, welcome to another video for Code Decode. Today we're going to deep dive into Teams Toolkit, which is a VS Code extension also available in Visual Studio to create, debug, test, deploy your application for Teams right from the editor. And we're not doing this alone. I've got Zhidi Shang, Principal Program Manager in Visual Studio team with us today, and we will be decoding everything together. Zhidi, would you like to intro yourself to all this audience out here and what you do in Microsoft?
Hi everyone, I'm Zhidi, working as a product manager at the Microsoft Developer Division. Over the past years, we've been developing developer tools for global developers to make their life easier. Most recently, we are working on a new product called the Teams Toolkit for Microsoft Visual Studio Code. It can help you to create and debug and deploy Teams app with a lot of the routine processes much simplified. For example, integrated identity, make it easier to access to the cloud storage. Or if you want to access your organization's data, then we offer the convenience feature through the Microsoft Graph. Of course, there were a lot of other Azure or Microsoft 365 services. We made them easy with the zero config approach.
So we're now in VS Code. I have already installed the Teams Toolkit. We're going to go ahead and click on Get Started. So because I want to try out from very beginning to see how the experience is. So you can also see the experience from the tool. All right, so Zhidi, I can see here a few items like get your environment ready. I'm just going to click on that. So what it does here is it runs a prerequisite checker. Let's just go ahead and select that. So it does sort of like checking whether you have the right tools installed with you, right, in your machine.
Yep. Currently, the only prerequisite to get started is just Node.js with the right version and npm.
All right. So is there any version that you need to be mindful of? Like from this version up, it works?
We are trying to align with the official Node.js version with their long-term support policy. So which means currently we're supporting version 16 and the earlier version 14. For the current latest version 18, we are trying to align with it very soon.
Awesome. That's good. So just have one prerequisite that you can go ahead and start creating apps for. And then you can, there's also another one. So build your first Teams app, which is basically creating your app. But I can see something here, create a M365 testing tenant for free, which is great. I already have an environment where I can test this application, but it's good to know that we also provide an option from within the tool to create an environment if you don't have it, which is great. But I already have an environment, so let's go ahead and create this Teams application. All right, so it gave me some options like, again, creating from scratch or starting from a sample. I'm going to go ahead and choose the first option. All right, so there are these scenario-based Teams apps, and there are these basic Teams app. I can see Zhidi.
Yes, that's correct. We recommend to start with some scenario-based Teams apps.
Yeah, this is great. And I can't wait to see more scenarios coming from your team. But right here we have notification bot, which is great. So it sends notification to Teams via maybe an Azure function or triggers. And it's got command bot. It responds to simple commands. SSO, which is like auth, and SPFX tab as well. I'm really tempted to go ahead and try command bot because I really love this scenario because it can be used for various like Q&A, FAQ sort of situation. And a lot of people actually look for this kind of apps in Teams. So I'm going to go ahead and try this one. All right, so it's asking me for JavaScript versus TypeScript. I'm definitely going for TypeScript. And let me check. Okay, I will go ahead and create a new folder. And let's call it command bot. All right, so again, I'm gonna give it a very basic name. Not feeling very creative at the moment. Command bot, and it starts scaffolding. So I can see, oh, okay, I've got two notifications that says my Azure resource template is updated based on your resource dot dot dot. And I also got like success is scaffolded, which I can make sense because I know that it probably created the project for me, the files, etc. Let's find out. All right, so it's I think it's opening up my app.
Yeah.
Okay.
The project has been successfully scaffolded with your input. Now I can help you to give you a quick walkthrough about the folder structure.
Okay, that would be amazing because I'm waiting to see what all stuff is being scaffolded apart from the bot itself.
Nice. Um, in the project folder, you will see four subfolders. So the first one is called .fx, where it stores all the environment parameters, project settings, and configs.
Okay, that's great because I think we'll get to the part where we'll show folks how we can handle multiple environment from the same project.
The second subfolder is called VS Code, .vs Code. That's it stores all the necessary information in order to make a successful local debug. The third subfolder is called bot. That's where all your bot logic, that's all the main project source code stays. So under bot, you will see a next layer like called SRC. You will find all the details about the code logic and artifacts. But I will call out one very important file under this bot subfolder. It's the README file, where you can treat it as like a step-by-step guide.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then the last subfolder is called template. That's where all the if you want to deploy your project or app into the Azure cloud, we made it easy for you. So they have two parts. One is the app package, where it has scaffolded manifest file and the other necessary artifacts like a project icon. So for you to package into a zip file and upload to the Teams. Then the other very important subfolder is called Azure. So here we put all the things that required, all the cloud artifacts that we are going to provision. All those definition files we put in this folder. So as you can see, there's a subfolder called provision. If you expand that one, you will find a set of bicep files. Now let me explain what exactly is a bicep files. Rabia, you must be familiar with Azure used to use a lot of things called an ARM template for the provision.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then the bicep file is the next version, next generation of the ARM templates. So it makes the definition, cloud resource definition, much simpler, cleaner, and modular.
Yeah, that's great because I'm seeing a bicep file for the first time, but I can actually understand that it is this one is creating a bot service, and that's required. That's one of the resources required for our command bot, and there is one for web app, which I can totally make sense out of it. I did go through this, and I was feeling okay. Yeah, I can. I know these properties. I know what they're trying to do, but this is amazing. So it's another new thing I'm learning today. So that's great. And the tool takes care of all the configuration at this stage, right? We have not really gone into the juice of things, but everything is kept ready for you to go ahead and distribute.
Exactly. So you don't need to do any tweak about this scaffolding file. You can
Yeah.
directly move to the next stage.
Exactly. So the developer doesn't really need to worry about all these settings and configurations and all these, but they only can concentrate on creating their applications, which is beautiful.
Yes.
So we got to understand what is inside the main folder. which has all the Teams Toolkit aspects as well. But now we're in the app itself just to understand what's in the app, which is the scenario-based command bot. So first thing I always like to do, folks, is go into the package and see the dependencies. And I can see there's not a lot, which is great. So we have got the Teams effects, which is a library that actually helps developers, get all those really hard bits into easy, usable modules. So I like Teams effects when it comes to like create all stuff like bot SSO, etc. It's super easy to use this library. We also have a CLI, right, Zhidi, for all these deployment CI/CD aspects, which is great. Yep, and we also have bot builder. So because this is a bot, we're using that package as well. So very, very limited amount of dependencies for the developer. That's a good thing. And I can see some folder for adaptive card, which is great. There are very rich actionable cards that you can use in your application. And they're also like, you don't have to worry about how they look because they live in the hosts. And take the form of the host. So that's an amazing beauty of adaptive cards. And there are a few models, and we've got the command handler. So this is probably the most important bit here. And what it does here is this word, hello world, it should actually give me back a card. And that card is living in this folder.
Yeah.
All right, super simple. And I think index, this is the entry point or server-side code, all good. I'm going to go ahead and run this bot to see how it works. So it's as simple as this, folks. Once you've provisioned it out, all you have to do is FY, and you can debug. You can go ahead and run this app, and you don't have to worry about anything. So previously we have done applications where we create apps, a Teams app where you have to run tunneling services like ngrok, but the Teams Toolkit would go ahead and do all that work for you so that you can start testing your application locally. So now it's gonna go ahead and run the app for you. It's doing again another prerequisite check, which is interesting, Zhidi.
This is the second time we do the prerequisite chat. You saw the first prerequisite chat is only checking your Node.js version and the npm version. That's for getting started. So this check is really for successful local debug. So in addition to checking the version of your Node.js installation, they also check whether you have a proper Microsoft 365 account. And more importantly, it must have site loading permission. Otherwise, the local debug or site loading won't work. So it will check that and warn you if it doesn't have it. Or if you don't even have a proper M365 account, it gives you a link to request one, a free dev test account. Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh, I should have actually done that done the entire thing in a VM so that we could get that experience. But I'm pretty sure that's going to be easier for you to do if it's just a link and go ahead and create your own. And we already saw, I think, in the Get Started page, Zidhi, that we had that button where you could create a new tenant. So that's brilliant. Meanwhile, that's happening. Maybe what we could do, Zidhi, is since you already discussed about accounts and side loading, folks, is that's something that you have to enable in your tenant for you to actually put your application by yourself and test it. So in my environment, obviously, it's this is enabled. So that's what Zidhi has been mentioning. I see a green tick next to it. So that's one of the prerequisites. So can you take us through a bit about what's happening in this left-hand side? There's quite a few. There are 4 different things like accounts, environment, development, and deployment sections. Can we just go through it?
Yeah. So this is basically our entry point to for the developer to access most of the Teams Toolkit features. So as you can see, there were several blocks. The top one is accounts. We just talked about the M365 account, which you need to have a site loading permission in order to do the local debug. But in addition, if you really want to do a remote debug, which means you need to provision the cloud resources remotely and deploy all your application code there, then you need the proper cloud credential to get that, to do all these tasks. So for now, the Teams Toolkit has a built-in support for Azure. So that's why you need a proper Azure account to sign in as well. Then the
Yeah.
second box is really about the environment. We just briefly talk about that in the scaffolding folder walkthrough. Local means everything local. That's currently by default.
Hmm.
So you scaffold new project. Right now you are on the local
Yeah.
environment. Yeah, which
Okay.
means all the debugging, all the bots will be deployed to your local host first. That's why in the prerequisite check you need the ngrok, because when you sideload into a Teams web client, it's going through the internet. So your local host need to be exposed to the outside through the ngrok. That's why we also check that for you.
Yeah,
Um,
you've actually put that very beautifully, Zidi. That's exactly what it is, what ngrok is.
then you found another default environment. We call it dev, but you can definitely create your own or give a different name. So you can create a new environment, but more importantly, each environment represents a remote running environment where you can deploy to. Most time it will be a cloud subscription. You need to sign in and you need to have a proper permission to do all the deployment.
Okay. Yeah, so
Yep.
that makes a lot of sense because this I can see there are two new buttons that's like add M365 Teams app with owners. The AAD registration app owners, right? And there's also like listing out who are the owners for this particular app. This makes it easier for someone else in your team also to have complete control over this app and get this code and run the app from within this environment.
Exactly. Yeah, that's mainly for the collaboration for the
Yeah,
developers. Yeah,
yeah, this is brilliant. So if I have another environment, staging, production, this is going to be the same experience as the dev. We can still collaborate, add owners and things like that. So that's amazing. And I think we saw previously some config files as well. So they were dev local. So if you've got a staging environment, it will create a new config for that as well, and then everything will be taken care of.
yes.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. So something's really happening over here, but I'm still curious about development and the deployment aspects. They're pretty straightforward. It's like creating in a sample, viewing the sample. We can quickly go through it. If there is something I don't understand, I'll call you up. There's also add features, so I can go ahead and add more features into this app, right?
You can try
Yep.
to click that one. You will see some of the features like adding a new API connection or adding
Yeah.
a single sign-on. You can always get access from this click.
All right, so that's beautiful. And also you can edit your manifest file if you want to change something there, the developer name or anything. And you can also preview and debug adaptive cards. Okay, that's brilliant. I had no idea. That means you can actually see these adaptive cards from within. Like there used to be an extension for that as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. If you go to the project folder, you can actually find the adaptive card file. Double click that one, it
Yeah.
will automatically trigger this.
Oh, okay. I see it. Okay, I see that little eyes over here. That's wonderful. So I'm gonna click that. Okay, that's the first time I'm seeing that. So I got a bit
Yeah,
excited
then
there.
we built in all these feature to make designers or developers life easier.
You can also preview and debug this adaptive card. You can see other online cards as well. I can see here for probably inspiration. So that's wonderful. So that's another new thing that I'm learning today. Thank you so much for teaching so much in a short time.
Yeah.
All right. So now we have finally the deployment area, which is a bit more deeper. So I need you to go in and help me out here. Provision in the cloud. So what does this mean to a developer when he is clicking on this?
Yeah, as in the walkthrough of the project folder, you saw a few Azure services like Azure Bot Service and Web App.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, so before we can deploy all the application code to these cloud resources, we first need to provision them. So this command is exactly doing that.
It will create the bot service, it will create the web app for you, and it hasn't really deployed your application to it yet, right? It's just creating
Not
the
yet.
cool,
Yeah,
cool.
I can briefly explain what's happening here. So once you
Sure.
click the provision, it will follow all the bicep file and
Hmm.
deploy based on the configuration or definition, and creating all those instances, and the get the returned like instance IDs, and store
Oh,
them into the config folder. So you remember there's a .fx folder. So all those information once deployed successfully, like in a state, yeah,
yep. Oh, it's in the States.
yeah,
Oh,
you
okay.
can see
Yep.
that local, or if you deploy to dev environment, it will have something called the dev.user data, where you
Yep.
can see all those IDs. Then those ID can be used by Teams Toolkit for the next step deployment.
Zidi, let's walk through the other bits in here in this section deployment. So next one is zip teams metadata package. It's just packaging the app, is it?
Yeah. So this step is basically preparing the app package .zip. That's the only file you will be uploading to the admin center or dev portal to get your app ready for site loading.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So in case you want to do it manually instead of the tool deploying it for you, you can also do like get the app. Maybe it's like you're distributing manually to some admin or someone. Then you can use this one to package it up. All good. And the next bit is deploy to the cloud. I believe this is putting your app where it's hosted, like web app or the bot service and things like that, isn't it?
Yes. So that some people may be confused about the provision and deploy. So
Yes,
provision,
exactly.
as yeah, we explained earlier, is a more like a one-time job. So you prepare the cloud environment with all the instances provisioned and ready to be deployed. Then the deploy can happen as many times as you wish. So whenever you make a code change, you can just copy your finished app code to the provision cloud instances like a web app service or the Azure Cloud service. So this one meant to be multiple times.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. That's good. That's the confusion I had in the beginning as well. So when you say provision, I'm always thinking I'm provisioning everything out in the cloud, but there are two different things. So provisioning is, as you said, creating the instances for all the things that you need to deploy, and then deploy to cloud is like, and every time you make changes to the code, you can deploy it to the cloud and host where it's hosted, right?
Yep. Yep.
Right, cool, awesome. That's brilliant. And publish to Teams. Obviously, it's going to be pushing to the org. What kind of publishing are we talking about here?
So this is mainly about publishing for your organization only. There were two types of publishing. One is like a LOB, what do we call it, a line for business app. So this one created just for your own organization, but it does require approval from your organization's IT admin. So publish to your team is basically uploading the zipped app package to the admin center of your organization. Then there will be an alert sent to the admin. Admin will either approve it so all the people within the organization can see and use it, or it will be
Okay.
rejected. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. No, that's right because the app does not go ahead and put everything in your org. That would be weird. I mean, even if you have permissions, but it would put it there in the org for your admin to go ahead and click publish.
exactly. Uh,
Okay.
Teams Toolkit offer this as a convenience feature, but you can
Mhm.
also do it through the Teams developer portal. You can
Yeah.
manually publish as well. And if you really, as a ISV app, you want to publish to the Teams App Store, that's a totally
Correct.
different process. Will not be
It
covered here.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long process. You need to
Yes.
get it validated. There's lots of things involved in there. But Zidi, we are actually doing a workshop where folks can actually start from scratch and put it to the store. So I'll link down below about App Camp, which is a project that one of our colleagues, Bob and I, we did it with that aspect covered. But right now, we're not going to focus on that. We're still in local. We're testing. This is nothing's been deployed. There we are.
Yep.
So it says local debug automatically to the name what we created. That's saying that this is not, anything, nothing's provisioned out, right? Because so I'm gonna go ahead and add this app. So this would actually then take me to a chat, I believe, because it's a bot. And yep, that's exactly what's happening. All right, so I think the trigger word was hello world. Let's go back and check it in the code. If I'm not mistaken, it was hello world, right?
Yes. Actually,
Yeah.
once it's loaded, it will prompt you what the commands are available.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. That's cool. Super cool. Something that's already in there and helpful, right? So if you've got an FAQ, you already have all these options. What you want to like frequently ask questions and things like that. So I already put the trigger in. So once it sees the trigger, the bot's going to invoke and give me a reply, which is an adaptive card. And here we are at the nice looking
Yeah.
adaptive card with links. Yeah, yeah. So that was easy. So everything up and running in like few minutes. And if you want to add more text that is a trigger word, then you can go ahead and add more as a string of an array of string. So yeah, go ahead and try having fun with it. And we haven't really deployed it to the cloud. So once you stop debugging, it's going to stop. That app is going to stop working. And then if you want to have it hosted, go to the Teams Toolkit, this option, right? So deploy to the cloud, and then you can
Yes.
even share it with someone. They can test your app, etc. Awesome. That has been amazing, Zidi. I'm really going to go and try out a few more other things in this bot because this is exciting. But is there anything you want to tell our audience, where they can go and try out Teams Toolkit? What kind of feedback would you want under this video as comments?
Yeah. Thank you, Rabia, and thank you all the viewers. If you are interested to explore more, we have a short link, https://aka.ms/ttk, means Teams Toolkit, where it's our GitHub repo. It's a totally open source to the public. Feel free to look through the Teams Toolkit and all the sample posting. So remember the Readme. That's very useful for you to get started. See you. Bye.